this stack, this. Right, okay.
Nick Cave, disc review.
So efficient. Hi everybody, welcome back to Discography Review with Sean. That's not the name of this. Today I'm going to be talking about Nick Cave and all of his various projects. Very excited about that. I love this guy. I kind of got into him later in life. I'll talk about that a little bit as we go along, I suppose, but once I got into him, couldn't stop. So we're going to start in 1979. He was in a band down in Australia with a bunch of other Australians. Their name was The Boys Next Door. This is the only thing they put out under that name officially, but it's really great. So this is very different for his stuff. It kind of sounds like pop punk music to me. I love it. So it's Nick Cave, it's Mick Harvey, Tracy Pugh, and then Roland S. Howard. And those names are important because those four guys basically, there's 5 dudes in this band, but those 4 started the next band, which started pretty much right after this. But The Boys Next Door, Door Door, is a great record if you're interested in early Nick Cave or, you know, you like poppy punk music. So that was the only official release, but they also have a ton of like bootlegs out there. This is kind of interesting. It's like a weird bootleg that is live sessions, and there's a bunch of birthday party stuff on this as well. So the next band that those 4 guys formed was The Birthday Party, and the music got very aggressive. They went from like poppy to aggressive, and so there's some Door Door, like Boys Next Door stuff on this, as well as some birthday party stuff. It's kind of cool. It's got like a little rough sounding, but not bad. That is also, or a version of that, I suppose, is available on this strange bootleg I came across that seems to have been made in Italy. I just liked this cover. I saw this, I got really excited. Probably just like a homemade record or whatever, but also very good if you want to put that on your old record player. So then, yeah, so as I said, Nick Cave, Mick Harvey, Tracy Pugh, and Roland S. Howard, the great guitarist, they started The Birthday Party. So The Birthday Party only put out a few records. There's a really great box set that is now out of print, this thing. It took me a while to find it, but I was very excited when I did find this. So it compiles all of their records together here, which are Hee Haw, Prayers on Fire, Junkyard, and that was it. I think those are only 3 that they officially did. Then they had a live record called It's Still Living, and then Drunk on the Pope's Blood, which is a great title. And on that record, they do some stuff with Lydia Lunch as well, who is somebody that they would kind of work with from time to time. This is a great box set. There's a nice little booklet in here. It's like remastered versions of all of the albums. It's really good. The only thing it's missing are a couple birthday party things that I picked up along the way. One of which they released after, which was this. It was kind of their last EP, or I think they put out 2 EPs after their 3 main albums. And they're called the Bad Seed EP and the Mutiny Sessions, and they're both on here. And they're good. Birthday Party is very aggressive. I don't know what you call it, post-punk, like garage punk rock. It's very heavy. It's kind of not the easiest thing to get into. I definitely got into Birthday Party after I sort of dived deeper into Nick Cave's discography. But I really like them now. And you got to be in the right mood. I was listening to it the other day, and I was so thankful none of my neighbors were around because I think they would have been really upset by the music. So this is another live record that they put out, just kind of a compilation of live recordings that they had done for the years of 81 and 82. They went on to the John Peel show, as a lot of bands did back in the day, and they did a couple sessions. This one has a full collection of set. There's 16 tracks on this. This is kind of the one to pick up if you're looking to get more into their stuff or have their stuff. It's very good. This one only has 4 songs on it, but of course, as a collector, I had to get it. But they're both good. I saw this on a recent travel in beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio, and I was excited to pick this up. So this is them working with Lydia Lunch, just live. This wasn't the thing I was listening to the other day when I was happy my neighbors were not around. It's very loud. At some point during one of these songs, Nick Cave, who is like very pumped up during the performance, says something to the effect of like, "Can somebody fix this fucking microphone?" He's very fired up, but it's good. It's a really good performance. I think Birthday Party was sort of known for their live shows being, they like wanted to bring a certain energy out of the crowd, and so they were, kind of antagonizing the crowd a little bit, and, I don't know. That's not my style, but I think they wanted people to be, on edge, I guess. So that band was basically started right after Boys Next Door, which was 79, and then they basically disbanded in 82. And then around that same time, they relocated from Australia over to West Berlin. Or no, London first. And then London, they kind of went to West Berlin. And there, Nick Cave worked with this German band called Die Haut. I don't know how to pronounce that. This is cool. It's like pretty interesting to listen to. It sounds like a lot of that German like experimental noise rock music, but then with Nick Cave singing over it. So it's kind of cool. Is it essential? I don't know about that, but I find it enjoyable to listen to. So if you're looking for completing your collection or just something kind of different to listen to, this is pretty good. So with that Birthday Party EP that they had called The Bad Seed, I have no idea if that's where the Bad Seed's name came from. I was talking earlier, and the Caveman was one of the earlier working names of this band. But then in '84, they started a band again, pretty much the same members, called Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and they put out their first record, From Her to Eternity. This song, the title track from this, From Her to Eternity, is something he plays, I think, every concert. It's a great song. It's a really good album. And it's sort of it's still really edgy, it's still kind of heavy, it still sounds like apocalyptic rock to me or something, but it is getting a little bit more, it's not radio friendly, but it's getting a little bit more radio friendly sounding compared to what they were doing just before with the Birthday Party. And at this time they were now in West Berlin, having a great time. This record was still Mick Harvey, still Roland S. Howard, still Nick Cave, obviously, and then they had Barry Adamson, who was the bass player from Magazine, join, as well as Blixa Bargeld, who was in that band whose name I cannot pronounce. Einstillbauten Neubauten, those guys, who are definite like German experimental rock music. There's this great video of them. There's like a great live recording of those dudes, Blixa and this other guy that was in that band, recording in like a sewer drain pipe underneath a freeway in Germany, and that's how they recorded this whole album. It's pretty funny. It's interesting though. So From Her to Eternity was the first thing the Bad Seeds released together. It's great. So these packs, which are the versions of the CDs I went out of my way to kind of pick up, have a DVD with them. These are really great. The DVD is 40 to 50 minutes of just interviews with a bunch of people who have worked with or who have known the Bad Seeds over the time of their existence. I think they were released in 2009. They all came out around the same time. They were all like remastered issues of the records, and the DVDs are really great. I watched them all, I don't know, a couple years ago, and it's literally just them sitting in front, just interviews of these people, but they give a lot of insight into the records, into the recording process. There's interviews with some of the band members, like Kid Congo Powers, who joins the band for a couple records, Barry Adamson, Mick Harvey. Nick Cave doesn't appear on any of them, but a lot of like their collaborators, and they're really worth checking out if you're into their albums. All right, so that's 84, right? 85, we work into their next album with this handsome picture of Nick Cave here. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds back again for the Firstborn Is Dead. I really like this album. It's got a cover of a Johnny Cash song in there, a couple covers on here. Tupelo, which is like a pretty classic Nick Cave song, which is pretty great. I love this song, Say Goodbye to the Little Girl Tree. This is really good, and again, it's that double little pack. You got a little bit of that DVD action. It's good stuff. I recommend this album if you're interested. Did I miss anything yet? Good, okay. All right, so then after that, they did something kind of unusual. They made a cover album, Kicking Against the Pricks, which is all covers. They did a ton of stuff. So the best song on here, in my opinion, is The Singer, is a great track. It's a really good record. I think some people kind of dismissed it. It was weird, they thought, for them to come out and make a cover album so early in their career as the Bad Seeds. But Nick Cave always talked about it. I think I read somewhere he was he's proud of the record, and he felt like it really helped develop the sound of the band, so and his vocals. So it's good. It's definitely worth checking out. It's not one I always put on, but I do really like this album, so check it out. What was that, 85 still? 86. 86. Oh, 86, they put out that album, and another one, Your Funeral, My Trial, which is really good. So this was kind of the height, I think, or at least the beginning of the height of his heroin addiction. And it's interesting because on the DVD, there are multiple people who talk about that. A couple people who say that they feel like they can hear it in his voice performances on this album, which is kind of interesting. I don't know that I would know what that sounds like, I guess, but according to these people, that they can hear it. And this is a really good record. The song Your Funeral, My Trial is excellent. It's one of my favorites. Hard On For Love, funny title, great song. Jack Shadow, also really good. I like this album a lot. For some reason, Newberry Comics, the place in Boston, had re-released a bunch of their records, and so this is one of the first ones I picked up. They just, I mean, these have all been re-released on vinyl, but Newberry did like special color editions, you know. So this one is really nice, just kind of red, but it's beautiful. Sounds great. I recommend that. Not necessarily this edition, but, you know, I think it's a good album to have on vinyl. Sounds really good. So that's 86. He started picking up steam, getting really busy, and then for this record, Your Funeral, My Trial, they added a drummer, Thomas Weidler, I think is his name. He was a German artist, drummer in a couple different bands. He joins the band now in 86 and is still a member of the Bad Seeds. They actually have two drummers kind of that switch off depending on the style of music they're playing. This guy, Thomas Weidler, is the guy who has been with them since the late 80s, which is great. So then 87, the band is featured in this film, Wings of Desire, but they're also on the soundtrack. So there's a part where the lead character is going to a bar. I can't remember why, if he's going there to observe somebody. He's an angel. And he goes into this bar, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are playing in this bar. It's a Ben Benders film. It's a good movie. It looks beautiful, black and white, and who doesn't look better than Nick Cave in black and white? It's great. The same year, he did a collaboration with Lydia Lunch, and some of the, it's kind of an interesting collaboration because he worked with Tracy Pugh again, who was in the Birthday Party, and Roland S. Howard, who wasn't in the Bad Seeds at this point. But this is a really good record. Sometimes it's referred to as, the band name is Honeymoon in Red, but it's very good. Thurston Moore is also a part of this group. It's kind of a weird thing. Nick Cave sings on a couple tracks. He's not necessarily featured on the whole record, but he's there. His presence is there. He's thanked, and there's something he's labeled like as her dead lover or something like that in the credits as the co-singer. It's just interesting. It's worth checking out. I enjoy it. Are we still in 87? Yes. Now on to 88. He released something that I feel like had a big hit on it, sort of, for him. And it's this song, The Mercy Seat. This is the single from it. It's a really good song. It's been around for a long time, famously covered by Johnny Cash, or not so famously, I guess, if you're not a Johnny Cash fan, maybe. But it's very good. The single is good. It's got a couple B-sides on it. A 7-inch version of the song and a live track, but it's good. It's worth checking out. But the record itself is really good. I feel like this was the first one of his earlier albums that I bought that I really, really got into, that I liked a lot. The Mercy Seat is a good song, but this song, Up Jumped the Devil, is so good. It's one of my favorite songs. Deanna, Watching Alice, it's all really good. City of Refuge, Sunday Slave is really good. New Morning, these are all really good songs. This is a great record, probably my favorite of the 80s, so worth checking out for sure if you haven't dived this deep into his discography, I guess. Got the same thing here, and again, Newberry Comics released a version of this on vinyl too. It's got some nice pictures of the band back there, and you'll see we got some, Mick Harvey there, still with the band, Blixa still with the band, as they will be for a long time, Thomas Weidler, the drummer now, and Kid Congo Powers, who's great, joined the band for a couple albums here. This one, I believe Your Funeral, and the one after as well. Again, this is one of those like special editions. It looks pretty. It's fun to listen to. It's a great record. So we move into 89, and he, with a couple members of the band, worked on this soundtrack, Ghosts of the Civil Dead. This is interesting for a couple reasons. I think it's a documentary or it's a movie about prison in Australia. I've never seen it, but it's interesting just because he ended up and still does a lot of soundtrack work. So this is, I think, the first time that he was seen composing music for, or working on music in any way for a soundtrack specifically. And it's an interesting little piece of music to have. Got a great cover shot of this prison that looks just horrible to be at. I wouldn't want to be there. So then we move into 1990. After this time, he's been doing a lot of heroin, needs a break, falls in love with a Brazilian journalist, moves to Brazil. The band stays in, mostly they're based out of London at this point. Some of them stay in West Berlin, and some are still in Australia. But while down there, he gets inspired, and they work on the next record, The Good Son. This is a great, great album all the way through. I like every song on this album because, I guess, known for the Ship song and the Weeping song. Those are two of his most popular songs. They're really great. It's got this fun cover with him and children. But this is a really, really good album all the way through. I love it. I picked up the single here, which is good. It's got the Ship song, one of my favorite songs, and the Train song. So the Ship song is really the song I guess I have to thank for me getting into him. I remember seeing some random Australian Bureau of Tourism video. I don't know where I saw it. I must have seen it online somehow. And it was this song, the Ship song. He wasn't singing it, but it was a bunch of different artists singing it. And the reason I saw it, I think, actually now that I'm remembering, is Daniel Johns from Silverchair. I think it was posted on their social media or something. I'm a big Silverchair fan, so they posted it because he sings in it. And I was like, that's a great song. Don't know what it is. A bunch of Australian artists, Paul Kelly, Neil Finn, stuff like that, who were playing on this track. And I was like, that's a beautiful song. Who did it? Nick Cave. So I got into him really because of that video and that song. Ship song. Great song. What year are we in now? 91? I think, no, still 90, I guess. 1990. This is just some bootleg I found. It's like a live record of performances from Bad Seed stuff through 84 to 90. It's good. The quality is pretty good, actually. It was a good find. Thank you, whoever made that. Now we skip into 91. And he got to work on another soundtrack for Wim Wenders, Till the End of the World, a movie I've never seen. It's so long, I think. I think it's like 3 hours long or something. I don't know, but it's supposed to be good. This song, I'll Love You Till the End of the World, is really, really wonderful. The soundtrack's great. Overall, it's got a lot of people on it that people would like. Lou Reed, of course, Can, R.E.M. Some people like R.E.M. I don't know who. U2, T-Bone Burnett, Depeche Mode, and also Crime in the City Solution, which was a band that Mick Harvey of the Bad Seeds was a part of. And they're kind of a cool band to check out. But this is a good soundtrack. Never saw the movie. Can't vouch for the movie. But it was a good soundtrack. And then the same year, or 92 actually, he's just kind of featured as an artist on this soundtrack for Gas Food Lodging. Barry Adamson, who at this time had left the Bad Seeds, started working on some soundtracks and solo music as well. And so Barry Adamson's the one who kind of works on this primarily. But there's a couple Nick Cave tracks on here, nothing new. But it's a good soundtrack and a good film. That's 92, and we're finally getting into some new Bad Seeds music. So he's about to come out with his next album, Henry's Dream. Wow. And one of the singles off that is I Had a Dream, Joe, which is really good. And on the B-side of this is a live version of The Good Son, which is off the album The Good Son. Also from that same album, Straight to You, which is a great, great song. I think Josh Groban covered it at some point. You should check that out. Pretty interesting. But yeah, Straight to You is good. There's a B-side on here as well, Bluebird, which is pretty good. So Henry's Dream is a great album. I've always loved this cover. Thought it was really fun. This little billboard sort of advertisement. He's looking real satanic there. This is a great album. Papa Won't Leave You, Henry. Jesus. I Had a Dream, Joe. Straight to You. Brother My Cup Is Empty. Christina the Astonishing. When I First Came to Town. Jack the Ripper. These are all really, really, really great songs. I feel like you can't go wrong with most Bad Seeds records in the 90s. I would say all of them, in fact. But this is a really, I mean, starting with The Good Son on to Henry's Dream, it's great all the way through. He's telling some really great stories, really good stuff. I like it so much, I had to get it on vinyl. Boom. Nice and beautiful. Can see them hard at work there. It's good. Nothing really special to note about the vinyl, but it is really good. I found another bootleg live record from that same year, 92 here. I like this picture of him on the back. Makes me feel like I'm watching like a noir film or something. He loves his cigarettes, although he's not smoking now, but he does love his cigarettes. He does a cover of I Put a Spell on You on this, a couple other covers which are pretty good. This is not a bad, it's not great, but it's not terrible. He put out a few live records during the early 90s, official ones, and this is a bootleg, but it is pretty good. And then so Still, I think, in 92. I just wanted to bring this up because it's interesting. There's two things on here. One, there's a live performance at the Paradiso that was from 92. That's really good. And then there's this documentary film that followed him around the U.S. in 89. It's really good. They're both really, really enjoyable. So if you ever find this DVD, it's not a CD, it's worth checking out. Still in 90, now we're in 93. I think this was officially released in 93. And then the same year he's working on another soundtrack, Far Away, So Close, which he does the theme song to, Far Away, So Close. I have not seen this film, so I couldn't tell you anything about it, but he only does that one song in here. And again, it's interesting because it's got Lou Reed, U2, a lot of people who are also on the I'll Love You to the End of the World, Until the End of the World soundtrack as well, strangely enough. But that song is really great. And I don't know that it's anywhere else. I think you might have to have the soundtrack to get that song. I think so. So 93 is when they released their first sort of official live record, which is Live Seeds. This is great. You can get the CD by itself, and that looks like this. I've always seen this everywhere. It's always usually pretty cheap. It's a really good compilation of some live recordings from early Bad Seed stuff, but that followed them on tour in 92, 93, I think. But this is a fun little collection. I like this packaging a lot, and it comes with a great book of photos from that tour. That's really pretty wonderful, so I feel like I'm reading a children's story to you. Some great stuff in here. It's a really good record. It's a really good little collection. I recommend that. Still in 90, no, now we're into 94, yeah. All right, we're in 1994. Very exciting year. We got this KCRW Rare on Air. Nick Cave performs the song God's Hotel. It's a song I didn't think was available anywhere else, but you will soon find out it is available somewhere else. He wrote the song originally for a fellow Australian musician who I love, Paul Kelly, on this Wanted Man album that is very good. If you're interested in checking out Paul Kelly, he's a really good singer-songwriter, tells some great stories. So God's Hotel is also available here. Nick Cave doesn't feature on this song at all, but he just wrote it. Still with 1994, we get into a great record. And one of the first singles off that was Do You Love Me? Love this picture of him. I mean, he's just like crooning on the, it looks like he's in some spaceship or something. It's just a good little picture. Do You Love Me is one of my favorite songs on this next record. It's got a couple of B-sides on this. Cassiel's Song and Sail Away, which is a really, really good song. Another single on his forthcoming record, Lover Man, which is great. The picture back in the wall, back way behind me there, is actually lyrics from this song, Lover Man, in a drawing that he did. But I love this song. It's an excellent song. It's got a great groove, some fun little lyrics. Getting up to the album all these are on, Let Love In. Great cover, right? He loves to have himself on the cover in funny little ways. I don't know if he loves it, but maybe the fans love it. They beg for it. So here you go. Let Love In is a great record. Do You Love Me? Nobody's Baby Now, Lover Man, all really good. Red Right Hand, which is probably his biggest hit. I Let Love In, which is a great song. Thirsty Dog, one of my favorites. Do You Love Me, Part 2, is also excellent. This is a really good record. And as I said, these special edition with the DVDs are wonderful because there's a lot of great interviews with band members at the time and contemporaries who talk about that stuff in depth, which is pretty wonderful. And you know, if you're feeling it and you feel like you really want to pay attention to it and look at the art bigger, you can obviously get it on vinyl, which is Now we get to 1995. one of my favorite Nick Cave songs on a great film, Batman Forever. The song "There's a Light" is really good. I don't think it's available anywhere else, but it's definitely available on this soundtrack. Played in the movie as well. It's a really good soundtrack. We got some U2 on here, everybody's favorite. PJ Harvey, who Nick Cave was, I think, still dating at the time. Seal, obviously, "Kiss from a Rose," one of the best songs that's ever been made. Right next to Nick Cave's "There's a Light." It's a really good soundtrack. I really enjoy it. Maybe it's just because I kind of grew up listening to it, but I love it. And our favorite retail, Urban Outfitters, put this little packaging together here with this beautiful collection of Batman-themed vinyl. Green. Who doesn't want that? And wait for it. Wait for it. I could struggle here for a second. I got it. Don't worry. And okay. So, purple. Batman Forever. Great movie. Great soundtrack. Great Nick Cave song on it. I highly recommend checking that out. We're still 95, yeah. We're still working our way through 95. The Bad Seeds kind of worked with Anita Lane for a little bit. She had an album come out a little around this time called Dirty Pearl. That's really good. I don't have that, misplaced that. But there's the single that has a couple B-sides that Nick Cave actually duets with her on. So The World's a Girl is a good song, but he duets with her on I Love You, Nor Do I, and Bedazzled. I Love You, Nor Do I is a cover of a Serge Gainsbourg song that's quite good. This is great. This is easy to find, I think, online if you look for it. Pretty cheap. I'm sure you can just listen to these on YouTube as well, but these B-sides are really good. Those two tracks I definitely recommend checking out. And then we're getting to his next record, the next year, 95 still. He's got his one of these singles. There he is with PJ Harvey, who just worked also on the Batman Forever soundtrack. Henry Lee's great. It's like a traditional song that he did his own version of. It's got this great video where they're kind of like swaying back and forth, and I think they kiss at the end, but you're kind of waiting for that kiss the whole time. It's a great little video, really good song. This little 7-inch is good. The B-side, King Kong Kitchi Kitchi Kimu, is great too. A lot of fun. That comes off of his great record, Murder Ballads. All about murder, of course. Not all ballads, though. Well, I guess that's not true. I guess most of them are ballads. It's really good. Song of Joy is good. Stagger Lee is a big hit and a favorite of fans in concert. Henry Lee is great. Where the Wild Roses Grow was a really, really big song. I don't know how big it was here in the States, but internationally it was huge because he duets with Kylie Minogue on that song. I want to say it was probably the next biggest hit after Red Right Hand for him. So 2 years in a row, he's got 2 big hits. He's kind of getting out there. But this is a really good record all the way through. He does a Bob Dylan song at the end, Death Is Not the End, where a bunch of the band members also sing and some guest stars sing with him. I really like that version of this song. Murder Ballads is really good. And this brings us to a very exciting time in the video, which is our first giveaway. That's right, giveaway. So with this record, I'm not going to send it to you. Don't get too excited. But I do have a digital download code available for the first person who comments with their 5 favorite Nick Cave songs. So the first person who comments, who tells me what their 5 favorite Nick Cave songs are, gets a digital download of the great Murder Ballads record. Look at those little children on the back, getting ready to listen to some songs about murder. This is a great record. This is also like the Tender Prey album that I have, which was pressed specifically for Newberry Comics. I know a lot of people don't like anything but the regular black vinyl, but you know, I mean, these are beautiful, they're fun, they're not always noisy. I found that these specific Newberry pressings that I have they're not terrible, they sound pretty good. So that's 95. Then we move into 96. Very exciting. 96, this just came out pretty recently. It's kind of, I want to say bootleg-ish, but it's not because you can buy it pretty much online everywhere. Put out by the great something Ship Funk Records. Can't even read what it says, but this is just a live performance he did in 96. It's good. I re-listened to this yesterday, actually. It's got some good performances on here of some songs and some songs that you don't get to hear live, I guess, very often, like Mercy. Your Funeral, My Trial, which is a song I love, and there's a really nice performance of it on here, actually. And it's cool, too, because at the very end, the last track, he's got a 7-minute interview where he and Kylie Minogue interview each other. It's good, so it's worth checking out. I enjoy it. It's not too long either. It's about 60 minutes. I don't know if it was the full set or not, but it's good. And then continuing on into '96, we're getting into some soundtrack work that he obviously will be known a little bit later for, To Have and to Hold, a movie I've never seen, but directed by John Hillcoat again. John Hillcoat did Ghosts of the Civil Dead, which we've already seen pop up in this discography review. I haven't seen it, but the score is really good, and it's also the first time I feel like he and the band members who helped him on this, Mick Harvey and Blixa Bargold, really worked on a traditional score. There's a lot of like orchestral stuff. I'm pretty sure Mick Harvey did a lot of the arrangements with Nick, so it's very good. I really like this soundtrack. It's traditional score music, but really beautiful stuff. And that same year, he, as well as a lot of other people, worked on the X-Files soundtrack. Nothing really new here. He's got Red Right Hand, but I thought it's a good soundtrack. I picked this up a while back. You got other hits on here from Soul Coughing, the great Sheryl Crow, Foo Fighters, William S. Burroughs and R.E.M. Who doesn't want to hear that, right? Meat Puppets, Screaming Jay Hawkins, which is great, Elvis Costello, and Brian Eno. But more importantly, two greats of our time, Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper, duetting together. Yes, please. It's good. I mean, Red Right Hand, you don't need it if you're just looking for Red Right Hand. I would rather you pick up Let Love In, which is a great record all the way around. Same year, he's working with a friend of his that was an early Bad Seeds member who is now not in the band, Barry Adamson. Barry Adamson, of course, the bass player from Magazine. I think I mentioned that earlier. I love his solo career. I think Barry Adamson's great. He's got this deep voice. It makes me feel like he's a lounge singer in like the 60s or 50s, which I really like. And this is a really good record. If you're going to pick up one of his albums, I highly recommend this one. Nick Cave participates on one of the songs called The Sweetest Embrace, which I don't know if it's available anywhere else. I didn't really look too much into that, but that song is really great. It's worth checking out even if you just go to YouTube and listen to it. The Sweetest Embrace collaboration, Barry Adamson, Nick Cave, is really good. And this is a really good album. Still with the soundtracks, and now working our way into 1997, Mojo, a movie I've never seen. I had never heard of it, honestly, until I did this. But he's got a couple songs on here. The song Mojo from the movie, which is good. I've never heard it. I like it. And he also does The Big Hurt, which I believe is a cover, actually. But I don't remember who it's a cover of. I probably shouldn't take the time to look through that now. But it's good. He's got those two songs on here. A bunch of other people on here as well. It's a cool little soundtrack. It's a movie I should probably check out at some point. And in that same year, he goes through a breakup sometime recently around this time, and he's working on new tracks, and he decides he's going to put out something a little different. So it's very different for him. Kind of turns the direction of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds for the future to come. It's more ballady than ever, slower, a lot more piano tracks, and that is The Boatman's Call. Even though Red Right Hand and Where the Wild Roses Grow are probably two of his biggest hits, the song on here, Into My Arms, is a fan favorite. It's played a lot as well, and I would say this album might be one that people talk about the most. A lot of people really like it. It's very stripped back compared to the other stuff. It's very melancholy, but I like it a lot. It was probably the first album I bought of his, actually, because the song Into My Arms is really great. But the whole thing is really good. People Ain't No Good is good. That's on a lot of soundtracks, actually. Brompton Oratory is a great song. Are You the One I've Been Waiting For is really good. Black Hair, Far From Me. It's got a bunch of great songs on here. This is a really good album, and kind of gets you into the next more adult phase of Nick Cave. And of course, our favorite, Newberry Comics, put out a version of this as well, so I got that, and it sounds great. Got that great picture of him really big there. It's what everybody needs. It's got a nice little red with some black smoke in there, which is cool. Sounds great as well. Again, not too noisy. I recommend that if you're interested in looking it up, but you can just find that on regular old black vinyl. And one little last thing with Boatman's Call, because I am a big nerd, I love to get these like interview disc CDs that you can find on Discogs and other places, and it's great. Just interviews him about this record. He talks about a lot of stuff, the making of it, how it kind of came to be, what he wanted to do with this sort of stripped back sound. And it even has little like the questions and the answers on the little insert in there. I can't speak. But this is good. It's fun. More of a novelty, I suppose. I'm sure you can find this written interview or this interview on YouTube or whatever, but it's a fun thing to have. I have a couple of these that are really cool. So that's 97. Now we're going to move into 1998. He releases this. This came out in 98, but it was for something he had written in 1989. So in 89, he put out this, and the Ass Saw the Angel? Yeah, which was his first book that he published. And this is readings by that, some music that went along with it, and then I believe they made a theater production of it, and so Mick Harvey and Ed Clayton-Jones did the music for that portion of it. But it's interesting, it's worth having, because I love listening to his voice when he's talking, and he does some readings, there's some nice music in there. This is cool, it's worth checking out, and the book is good too. Speaking of books, I got a couple books here that are pretty much just lyric books. Kid Ink and Kid Ink 2 are things that he put out pretty early on in the career that go over mostly birthday party stuff as well as a little bit into the Bad Seed stuff. They're great, they're worth checking out if you want to read his lyrics. There's also his very famous drawings all up in these. There's one for O'Malley's Bar. So, he's a doodler, he's a drawer. Those are really great, and then later he put out something, which is the complete lyrics up until 2013, which is also great, and again, you want to dive deep, this is the way to do it, they're fun to read. So 98, then he also put out this Best Of. There's a couple different versions of this, I just have, I think, the simplest version. I want to say there's a version of this that comes with a live album that ended up getting released later, and I think I have it stacked in here maybe somewhere later, so there's that version. There might be one that comes with music videos too, I can't remember, but it's really good. If you're looking to start, Best of the Bad Seeds is good. It's funny, I would say this is the third thing I bought. I think I bought Boatman's Call, The Good Son, and then this. And I was still on the fence about him, right? Like this, there's a lot of great songs in there, but I was kind of still on the fence. I don't know if this is the best maybe not the best way to get into him, I guess. I feel like when I've tried to get people into Cave, if you start off with like more Boatman's Call, like the ballady the kind of stuff, I feel like people get into that more than like the heavier stuff, You don't want to start with a birthday party, I'll just tell you that. So at this time, he's kind of taking a break. He goes to rehab, like the late 90s, I think. He's trying to get clean, trying to make some changes in his life. This is kind of cool. He did this thing called The Secret Life of a Love Song. Of the Love Song, sorry. And it's great. It's just 2 long lectures. He also performs 5 songs: West Country Girl, People Ain't No Good, Sad Waters, Love Letter, which is a great song, and Far From Me. This is really wonderful. It's really wonderful to hear, and it's kind of interesting because nowadays he's doing this thing called In Conversation series, and he just goes around himself without the band, just him and the piano, and he'll answer questions to the audience. He'll do small performances on the piano of a wide range of songs, and it's very similar to this. So I always wondered if this was kind of the genesis of what he's doing now. If this was like always kind of in the back of his mind as well. That's something interesting. I should do that more in the future. So that came out, I want to say in 2000, 2001-ish. And then in the same year, 2001 now, he did the theme song to this movie, Winged Migration. It's a really good documentary if you're into winged migration, but he does a song to be by Your Side. It's a beautiful little song that he did, really nice, and there's a musical arrangement of that. I think I wrote that down. Feathers and Stripes. The track Feathers and Stripes has like a musical rendition of his song To Be By Your Side. That's really nice as well. Another bootleg that I found that came out in 2001 as well. The Cave and the Bad Seeds, To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, more live stuff. These bootlegs are like so hit or miss. This one is not terrible, it's not great, nothing to write home about, but it has a good mix of stuff, including stuff that's about to come out. So I'm assuming this was released right after his next album came out. So, after Boatman's Call, he's mellowed out a little bit, and he's kind of on this new path musically. And so he releases with the Bad Seeds No More Shall We Part, which was I think a highly acclaimed record, similarly to the Boatman's Call. It's a lot of ballads, it's a lot of slower stuff. It's like very, he's contemplating a lot on this record. There's not a lot of short titles either, but I really like this album. He had met his now wife, I think, right before this. So there's a lot of love songs on here. This is a really, really good album. I highly recommend it. I love the song Love Letter. 15 Feet of Pure White Snow is really great. God Is in the House, he plays a lot live, but there's a really, really nice collection of songs on this album. I think he's very proud of it too. I wish he would respond to my video, then maybe I could know that for sure, but it sounds really great on vinyl, and part of the reason I wanted to get it on vinyl is because more recently there was this Greek artist whose name is Stefanos Rokos, who put out this really lovely art book. So this art book came out, and it was 14 paintings 17 years after No More Shall We Part was released. He worked in collaboration with Nick Cave, talked to him a lot about that, and inspired him. And then it's literally, this is a really beautiful little book of art here. I just, just like artworks he did, and they're based on each, so there's one painting per song, which is a cool idea. I think he had a couple like openings in Greece. I want to say he's some in England as well. And the drummer, one of the two drummers in the Bad Seeds at this point, I think in the late 90s, Jim Scalavinus, I don't know if that's how you say his name, he had joined the band as like a second drummer. So he actually worked a lot with him as well. Does a forward to this, as well as Nick Cave. And it's really great. Like, it's nice to look at while you're listening to the record. It's nice paintings. I mean, it's worth it if you're a big fan, I guess. I find it to be very lovely, but it's not for everybody, so I get that. And at this same time, he put out this documentary. Well, it's a live show, sorry, but there's also a documentary about the No More Shall We Part sessions, but it's very good. I recommend this. If you like this album, there seems to be a lot of stuff out there around this time because he was kind of coming back. This was a long break for him. 97 to 2001 was a pretty long break between albums for him at that time. So this is really good. There's a nice performance on there and some good music. Then same year, 2001, I believe. No, we're into 2002 now. Very exciting. He worked on the I Am Sam soundtrack. A lot of big artists on this covering Beatles songs. He covered Let It Be, not on this record, but on the single. He also covered Here Comes the Sun. I always thought that this picture was really weird. I don't understand it. It reminds me of something, like a 90s album cover. It doesn't look like Sean Penn until you really look at it. I don't really get it. I never saw this movie, but his covers are good. They're pretty traditional. There's a lot of great people on this record. Black Crowes, Sheryl Crow again, Ben Folds, Ben Harper, Eddie Vedder, Wallflowers. Maybe not a lot of great people, but bands that some people like. I like the Wallflowers, by the way. I Am Sam, 2002. Same year. KCRW again, they release these compilations every once in a while, like acoustic recordings, live sessions in-house and stuff like that. This was a Sounds Eclectic, stripped down version, just Nick Cave playing Into My Arms. This is a really good collection though. 07, REM, Nick Cave, Dido, yes, my dad loves Dido, Norah Jones. It's a good little compilation, it's a nice performance of that. In the same year, I guess, technically, although I believe it was released earlier, he worked on, maybe not, he worked on this opera. It's like him doing his songs, but in a different language, Polish, I want to say. This is really just like, if you're a big fan, you got to get it, but otherwise, I don't know that I recommend it. It's interesting. I've only listened to it once. I really should have re-listened to that so I could talk about it more, but I don't know. Same thing with this. He does one song on here. It is Kiss of Love. Oh yeah, it's a really good song actually. I didn't really know much about this. I still don't know much about this, so I'm not going to talk about it very much, but it's good if you need to get all his stuff. But at this time, Johnny Cash was working on all those American recordings. Nick Cave was a big fan. Johnny Cash was a fan of his, had covered the Mercy Seat, so on American number 4, The Man Comes Around, they did a song together called I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Beautiful song, really like it. They sound great together, old Johnny Cash. I wonder what young Johnny Cash would have sounded like with Nick Cave, I don't know, but old Johnny Cash and Nick Cave sound really good together. They did another song, it must have been around the same time, called Cindy, that is, I think, only available on a Johnny Cash box set, but I don't know which box set. Like, I want to say it's one of the larger box sets. That song Cindy is also really great that he did with Johnny Cash. I'm assuming it was around the same time. I could be completely wrong about that though. So in 2003, he getting back on it. 2001, No More Shall We Part. 2003, he's ready to record again on an album that most people hate. I love this album. I think it's great. It's called Nocturama. This is the song Nocturama, which didn't actually make the album. It's a B-side to Rock of Gibraltar, which I love. I think this song is really wonderful. It's one of my favorite songs of his. A lot of his fans don't like this album. A lot of his fans don't like this song. I think Rock of Gibraltar is wonderful. It's a lovely little love song. Great piano performance on it as well. And then here we have the album, Nocturama. Great. Very slow. It's 10 songs. There's 3 songs, I guess, technically, that are kind of upbeat. The rest of it, kind of slow, but I love it, man. I love this whole album. Wonderful Life, great. He Wants You, great. Right Out of Your Hand, great. Bring It On is kind of a hit, I suppose, maybe, of the album. It's upbeat. It's really good. Very radio friendly. I have no idea. Like, if I was a radio programmer, I would have listened to that song and been like, this should be on every radio station. It's so good. The backing vocals in that song is the guy from, oh man, I can't believe I can't remember, but I want to say the Saints, the Australian band. It's either the Saints or the Beasts of Bourbon. I can't remember. The Saints sounds right to me though. Anyway, it's really good. Bring It On. This CD ends with the song Babe I'm on Fire that is so long that it takes up its own record here. So there's 3 sides to this, A, B, and then C, and C is just Babe I'm on Fire. It's like 15 minutes long. It's so long. It's got a great groove. Man, I don't understand what he's talking about half the time, but it's really fun. There's a lot of fun stuff in it. This is like an album I think that's worth exploring. That song is really fun to like read the lyrics along to. Nocturama is really good, and if you're a nerd, you'll of course want to complete your collection, like me, with the interview CD. I should give those away as gifts. All right, 2003, boom, into 2004. He's still on a roll. He's kind of having this like, just like revived energy. I think he probably has started having his kids by then. He's definitely with his wife, and I think he's feeling really good. So he records an FM broadcast radio. No, this is just some random like bootleg, which I put some notes on here. And I wanted to point out that this is interesting because there was that birthday party record I said earlier where he's talking about somebody fixing the microphone. He seems to have a war against microphones that don't work because here he also mentions that the microphone is out of whack and somebody needs to fucking fix it. It's really funny. So that kind of stuff I love. Like if you're going to have a live album, I'd rather there be some errors and things like that where the band is kind of reacting to, because to me, that makes it worth it. Same year, right? 2004, yeah. He's busy in 2004, and he collaborates with Marianne Faithfull, who had done some stuff. She was kind of around the Rolling Stones back in the day, recorded some stuff back then. She did periods of releasing music, but this record, and kind of in the early 2000s, she started working with a lot of other artists. So this one has PJ Harvey, Nick Cave. The song Crazy Love is really great. He also worked with her on There Is a Ghost and Desperanto. There's 3 tracks on here. They're all really good. This album is actually very, very good. She also worked a lot at the time, Marianne Faithfull, with the great Damon Albarn and the great Blur. If you don't know that band, you should check them out as well. This is a really good record. I haven't checked out a ton of her stuff, but the stuff later in her life that I've checked out, I really like. It's weird. Johnny Cash, her, and Leonard Cohen, I kind of feel the same way about. They're like people who I didn't really know a ton about and knew of them, but didn't really ever get into them. And then I started listening to their older stuff as they were older, and I have really enjoyed it. So 2004, same year, he puts out his next album. It's an opus, 2 discs. Abattoir Blues, The Lyre of Orpheus. I love this. This is a really great record. I tend to say it's my favorite because it's 2 discs and there's really not a bad song on it, I don't think. It's really, really good to listen to. And I love the collection. Nice, beautiful little photo here. The discs are all colored so nicely. It's simple but beautiful. This is a great collection. I wish that I had got into him when this came out, because this is a great record. It would have been great to see live. Cannibal's Hymn is really good. Hiding All the Way is great. Nature Boy, great. It's like a David Bowie-esque song that I feel like that's what he's talked about that being. Abattoir Blues is really good. Let the Bells Ring is a song he wrote after Johnny Cash died. It's a really beautiful song. Lyre of Orpheus is great. Breathless is a song a lot of fans love. I think people play that at their wedding. People are frequently asking him to play that. Supernaturally, really good. Easy Money, one of my favorite songs. Not to be confused with the Bruce Springsteen song, Easy Money, that I also love. 2004, Abattoir Blues, wonderful. Guess what? He also put that out on vinyl. That's right, re-released on vinyl, and it's just as beautiful. Look at that. Boom. That green, there, get that pink, it's beautiful. I definitely recommend giving that a listen. It's 2004, we still know. I think we're on to 2005 now. He kind of puts out his first, not his first, but his next soundtrack. But this is sort of important because it takes him into a realm of soundtracks with Warren Ellis that they had not yet really done together, those two, and that becomes sort of important. So The Proposition is another John Hillcoat film, I think. Man, I might be wrong, but I think that's right. I feel pretty good about that, but I could be wrong. Proposition is a good little Western, Australian Western with Guy Pearce. Soundtrack is great. There's 3 songs. I think it's The Rider and The Rider number 2, and The Rider number 3, sorry. I think those are the ones that Nick Cave is like, it sounds like he's reading poetry to. And there's also the writer's song, which he sings. But this is a really good soundtrack. If you're into his soundtrack work or haven't got into his soundtrack work, this is a pretty good place to start. It's a good movie, a little bit of a trip, but I enjoyed that. The same year, 2005, he put out this. It's a B-sides and rarities collection. I would say this is just for fans, but I would be wrong to just recommend it for fans because I think this is a great collection of music. There's some really good stuff on here that wasn't released. Maybe I'm biased because I like him anyway, obviously, but a lot of the B-sides, acoustic versions, live versions and stuff that are available here are really good. Oh, God's Hotel is on this. Didn't even remember that. He does a really, really great version of Neil Young's Helpless that I like more than Neil Young's version of Helpless. Sorry, Neil Young. Some great songs on here. Six Strings That Drew Blood is an early birthday party song that Roland S. Howard wrote. He does a version on here. There's a ton of really good stuff on here. I definitely recommend checking this out. If you're just getting into me, even there's a lot of accessible music, I think, on there. 2006, he did a couple sort of random things. I'm Your Man. He was a big Leonard Cohen fan. I just read recently, actually, that he had never met him face to face. Didn't know that, even until. Yeah, he never met him. I think Leonard Cohen, I read this because after Nick Cave's son passed away, Leonard Cohen sent him a note, I'm here for you. It was something simple or whatever, and he said he was so touched by that because they'd never met. He does, so this was I didn't see this film, but I believe it's a documentary about Leonard Cohen, but these people on this album are all performing these songs live, so it's kind of a live record as well. Your boys, U2, are still here, don't worry. They're on this album too. Nick Cave does Suzanne, which is one of my favorite Leonard Cohen songs. With Julie Christensen. It's a great, great version of that song. He also sings, I think, I'm Your Man. Yeah, he sings I'm Your Man as well. A lot of great people on here. The Wainwrights, Teddy Thompson, it's Jarvis Cocker. It's good. Worth checking out. The same year, he also works on this collaboration here. I want to say Johnny Depp produced this. He did. Johnny Depp and Gore Verbinski. So I think this was, what year did I say? 2006? I think that must have been when the second Pirates movie came out, if I remember right. And so, obviously, Johnny Depp was big into the pirate world. So it's like pirate ballads and stuff like that. What do they say exactly? Yeah, just like pirate ballads, sea songs, and shanties. So Bono, Sting, all of our favorites. Brian Ferry, who I've heard Nick Cave talk about a lot recently. He must love Brian Ferry. They must be friends. Gavin Friday and more. Nick Cave is on here. And it's excellent. Pinery Boy is the song I'm thinking that Nick Cave does on here. It's just that one song he does, but it's very good. It's worth checking out. And still in this year of 2006? No. Or have we moved on? One more thing. 2006, he released this. This was something also I didn't know about until I checked this. Checked into this. There's a little bit of a failed discography thing there, but he worked on this Harry Smith project. American folk music. There's some really great songs on here by a bunch of different artists. It's quite a few people. Elvis Costello's on this, Beck is on this, Lou Reed is on this, David Johnson, Steve Earle, Petra Hayden, a lot of great people. But the songs that Nick Cave does on this are really good. There's a couple of them, and they're really good. And so this compilation is 2 discs of music and 2 discs of live performance. The live show that was put out for this is really great too. So this is 2006. Now we get to go to 2007. Let me fix this, sorry. Hold, bear with me. So 2007, he puts out this really big compilation of live music from the Abattoir Blues, Lyre of Orpheus show. So it's 2 DVDs, 2 CDs. It's really great. I think this is like peak Nick Cave. Well, that's not fair to say, but it's very good. These songs are really wonderful. They perform pretty much all of them here live. The DVD is really good as well. It's worth checking out. Same year, he works on what I think is still his best score with Warren Ellis, Assassination of Jesse James. That's probably too low. By the coward Robert Ford. Long title, one of my favorite films actually. The soundtrack is beautiful. It still holds up. They just recently released it for the first time rather, on vinyl. And the vinyl for me was a must-have because it's a really, really beautiful score. I heard him talking about this at a screening for the film, and he said that one of the things he loved about it came on this, I forget what they called it, it was like bourbon and gun color or something like that. He said one of the things he really loved about this and working with this director was that he knew how to play score music which was pumped up past 10. He's like, when I go see a movie, I want the soundtrack, whatever it is, score or music, to be like cranked up. And I remember very, very much seeing that movie for the first time and the score being very loud, which I liked because it's very good. So that's 2007. Now we're getting into 2008. No, I lied. We're still in 2007 with something that's very fun. So with 3 members of the Bad Seeds, who are always in the Bad Seeds, he forms a side band, Grinder Man. He said because he wanted to rock, he wanted to get back on the guitar and play some music. So they put out one of their singles, No Pussy Blues. It's a great song, hilarious. I'm sure everybody's been there, with this little monkey on it. This is a great single, this is a great song, this is a great band. Grinder Man, No Pussy Blues, also available on vinyl, 7-inch. This Chain of Flowers B-side is great. So the interesting thing about this, and I'm sad that I've never been able to find this, there is a bootleg somewhere out there. If you have it, please send it to me, of unreleased tracks that they did during the Grinder Man #1 sessions. I've heard about 5 of the songs that were, apparently there was like 2 albums worth of material, only 1 album was used. The other stuff I've heard is really great, Chain of Flowers being one of those things that was actually released, and I really, really like them, so I would love to hear that stuff. The fun thing about Grinder Man is like he's like really energized at this time, and so they're releasing like tons of art and all that kind of stuff, so a lot of this stuff comes with fold-out posters. I love Grinder Man #1. Love Grinder Man, so good. So this is the single, sorry, I'm just getting sidetracked here. Another single from that was Get It On, and I Don't Need You to Set Me Free. These are fun because only the A side has music. The B side is this fun thing where he just etched one of his sketches on it. So you can't really see it, but it's the sketch from this, which is Naked Ladies, by the way, is etched into the B side of this, which is really great. And it's the same with Get It On, which is you just got straight shots right into these naked ladies there, and that's what's etched onto the B side. It's pretty fun, you know. It's like fun things for fans, right? And then we actually get to the record, Grinder Man. There it is, in all its glory. This is a great record. I was re-listening to this last night. I really like this stuff. I never got the chance to see them. They didn't play too much. They did play at a Coachella that I missed. I was so sad about that because Grinder Man played one night, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds played the next night. I should have just spent all of the money in the world to go see that. There's really not a bad song on here. Get It On is great. No Pussy Blues is great. I love Depth Charge Ethel. I Don't Need to Set You Free. Honeybee is really good. When My Love Comes Down, Love Bomb. It's a really great record. I highly recommend it. They just released it on vinyl recently here. And it's cool because like that green monkey on the front, that vinyl needed to be banging, so there it is. That's a beautiful little record. And if you get this, you gotta crank it way up. It needs to be loud because it is excellent when played loud. That's 2007 still. Now we're moving into 2008 and we're gonna work on a couple different things here. 2008, he's got that live record that I sort of mentioned earlier, so live at Royal Albert Hall. I actually think this CD itself was released in 2008, but I should have put it with the best of compilation from '98 because this was definitely something that came as a second disc with that best of, but I bought the CD in 2008 or whatever, so that's where it's there. He's working with Marianne Faithfull again here. This is interesting. It's a bunch of covers and stuff. He does a duet with her of the Decemberists, the Crane Wife 3 on this. I don't like this CD as much as the other Marianne Faithfull one, but it is also worth checking out. Still in 2008, yes, right? With this random live album that I'm assuming was a bootleg. Immortal Records, the records everybody loves. This is good. It's not great. It's, it's fine. Do you need it? No. But it's very good. His next record is coming out in 2008. He puts out this really fun, like I said, he was really into like doing a lot of art, a lot of like projects. He's working on his new record with the Bad Seeds called Dig Lazarus Dig. They released this 1-track single with this 60-page book, and it's got this, look at this cute little record in here, this little CD. Look at that. Oh yeah. So it's got this, and this is amazing. I was so happy when I found out about this because look how cute this is, and I'll put that back in a minute. But, it's got this, all this art, and it basically just goes through the lyrics. There's a Q&A conversation in here. All this art he did for this. I mean, he was like really inspired apparently at this time, and it's got a bunch of work behind the scenes on the record and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty great. We're checking out one of my favorite songs from the album, and a song I'll definitely put on mixes for people who I'm trying to get into Nick Cave, is this song, More News from Nowhere. It's a great song. It's like 7.5 minutes long. It's a very, very fun little song with a great groove, and the B-side here, Fleeting Love, is also excellent. Nothing special about the vinyl, but it's worth checking out if you're, a big fan. Those are all singles, obviously. Then we get to the record itself. Dig Lazarus Dig. If you want to rock, if you're like in that Grinder Man kind of vibe, this is the Bad Seeds record to pick up. Very, very fun, man. It's like sort of raucous affair. Dig Lazarus Dig is great. Today's Lesson, great. Moonland is really good. I love Night of the Lotus Eaters. Albert Goes West, he mentions Arizona. I'm from Arizona. I was very excited about that. This is a really good record. Jesus and the Moon I really like. Midnight Man is great. And More News from Nowhere is on here as well. That's a really good album, and it's definitely worth picking up on beautiful vinyl. So, Dig Lazarus Dig. 2008. 2009, he does something a little different. I should have mentioned this. This, what I'm drinking here, delicious, beautiful, Starward. This is Australian whiskey. I know that he is sober, but, in honor of Australia, I'll have a drink of that. It's very good, by the way. So 2009, we're into now. He's working on another new book, The Death of Bunny Monroe. Why am I showing you books? You're probably wondering, well, this is the audio book, so technically it kind of counts. Plus, it's really great because it comes with a ton of information in here. Also a DVD if you want to see him talking about this. But there's actual music on here. It's kind of like this audiobook is sort of like a live performance of the book in a weird way, and there's score music that he and Warren Ellis did that's on here. So it's a cool way to experience this book if you're interested. The book is good. I have a very good friend who got me a copy of the book, which has Nick Cave's signature in it. Oh yeah. Thanks to that friend. He knows who he is, I think. He has a bad memory though, so he might not know. So Death of Bunny Monroe, that's a book. We're in 2009. We're still in 2009, I think. Right? Uh-oh, did I get off? Where do I go? Oh no. Oh, this way, sorry. Yes. So he released, he worked on these Jeffrey Lee Pierce sessions projects. There ended up being 3 of them. Jeffrey Lee Pierce of the Gun Club. He was friends with them. A lot of the guys from the Bad Seeds were friends with them. There were some funny stories. I was reading about them earlier, talking about how most of the Bad Seeds hated Jeffrey Lee Pierce because they were like, he's so hard to understand. What's he talking about? He's obviously strung out, but also besides that, he was just kind of out there, I guess. Nick Cave got along very well with him, apparently. And so he was a part of these 3 tribute albums that were essentially put out to him. So Nick Cave is here with Ramblin' Mind, which is great. Great cast of characters on this. Mark Lanigan, who's wonderful, of Screaming Trees, he is on here. The Ravenettes, Lydia Lunch, Mark Lanigan again, Lydia Lunch again, Nick Cave, and the great Debbie Harry together play Free to Walk, which is a really good song. This is definitely worth checking out. This might be my favorite one of these three. I mean, he's featured with 3 tracks, or 2 tracks, sorry, on here, but this is a really good compilation, I think. So then in 2009, even though they hadn't done a ton of stuff that was released anyway, Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, look at that beard. Yes, amazing. And that mustache, I love this era of Nick Cave. He had this weird mustache when he did Grinder Man. It's so good. He looks like a porn producer or something. So they released White Lunar, which is a really good collection of their score music. So it's nice because they had done some documentaries, some stuff in the early 2000s that never got released on physical media, so White Lunar is the place to get that stuff. It's got Assassination of Jesse James, but it has The English Surgeon and The Girls of Phnom Penh. Those are both really good scores. I've never been able to find those films, although I think The English Surgeon might be streaming on Amazon, and I feel like that is true. I think those 2 films I would like to see because the scores are really beautiful, but this is a great collection of their score music together if you're interested in that. In the same year, still 2009, they released The Road. So you can get some of the tracks on White Lunar for The Road. The Road, an amazing book, not so great of a film starring Viggo Mortensen, who I love, but the movie is not great. The score is really good. It's worth checking out for sure if you're into those guys. 2009. 2010, right? Okay, good. So 2010, we're getting some more, still with this a beautiful mustache, Nick Cave. He's still feeling saucy, still feeling really inspired. So boom, he's feeling a little evil maybe. Grinder Man is back with Grinder Man 2. Evil is a great song. This is a fun little single that they released, which just has like 5 different or 4 different remixes of the song Evil. That's great, right? Evil. Can't get to the actual album yet because there were so many singles released for this. Well, singles that nobody on the radio probably heard, but Mickey Mouse and the Goodbye Man. Look at that art. Wonderful. It's very good. Yeah. Got something in my mouth. This is great because all these Grinder Man singles on vinyl have this like fun little designs. Beyond being just really good songs, the art is really fun. I mean, this is what I feel like this is what vinyl and music really should be. If you're going to be releasing physical format stuff, I think you should be doing something that's interactive, that's like, you know, bringing people to that format. And I think with the Grinder Man stuff especially, they really did that. So Nick Cave, Evil, here's the vinyl version of that. Again, a lot of the stuff comes with like posters. This one doesn't, but this one, that's right, it's like blood red, I think it was. Kind of cool. Blood red. Don't forget to check that out. And don't worry, there's more Grinder Man singles from the album number 2. Boom. You want to hang out with her? She got bloody mouth. I don't know what's going on there, but she got a bloody mouth. And this one was one of the first ones that came with some poster, and I love this art. That is wonderful. What does it say? To all our fans, love Grinder Man. That's great. That's wonderful. I mean, it's worth that alone. It's also a colored vinyl, and a great song. I really like this Grinder Man stuff. Maybe I'm partial, but look, she's back. Still has bloody teeth or a red mouth. I don't know if it's blood, but I'm assuming it's blood. And there's art with this. Oh yeah, this is so good. They're back. That's Nick. That's Jim Sclavinus, who was the drummer. So I remember there were 2 drummers, right? Jim Sclavinus, this guy who played with like the Cramps and bands like that, and then Thomas Vidler. So on the harder Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds stuff, and Grinder Man, that guy Jim was the drummer they chose. This is one of my favorite Nick Cave songs in general, but also probably my favorite Grinder Man song. Palace of Montezuma is really wonderful, great art, and this is one of the most beautiful vinyl I've ever seen. I think it's beautiful. Great job. Whoever did that, whoever made that, give them a star. Beautiful. Oh no. So we're in 2010, by the way, now. If I didn't say that, that's when Grinder Man 2 is coming out. I'll just put that over there for later. And the actual album comes out, and here it is. It's full of hot poppin' jams. Mickey Mouse and the Goodbye Man is really good. Worm Tamer is great. When My Baby Comes, great. Evil is really good. Palaces of Montezuma. And I love the last song, Bell Ringer Blues. This is really good. This is a great album cover. I really like Grinder Man. Grinder Man 2 is no exception. I'll do this next. Okay. So that's also released on vinyl. And great news, giveaway number 2. Woo! If you list, then the second person to list their top 10 favorite Nick Cave songs gets a download code to Grinderman number 2. Who doesn't want this? It's really good. If you comment, if you're the second person to comment, you're going to get a download code for Grinderman number 2, which is an album that I certify gold. Right after Grinderman 2, he released Grinderman 2 remixes. This is very, very good stuff. Who's on here that you might know? Place to Bury Strangers, Josh Homme, Cat's Eyes, Barry Adamson. It's good. Is it essential? I don't think so, but it's worth checking out. You know, Grinderman. Don't get sick of it. So 2011, we're moving on to now. Got my whole notes over here. He's working on a couple more soundtracks. Lawless, back with John Hillcoat, who he's worked with over the years. He pulls together with Warren Ellis, his soundtrack compadre, a group of people that they love, Rob Stanley, Mark Lanigan, Emmylou Harris, and they put together this soundtrack, which is really good. I think they call themselves the Bootleggers on here. But this is really good. This is a good movie. I don't love all of John Hillcoat's stuff. He had also directed The Road, sorry, should have mentioned that, which they worked on the soundtrack for. But this is a good movie, and I really like the soundtrack too. It's fun. A lot of singing on that as well as score music. That same year, he put out the score with Warren Ellis for Days of Grace. I've never seen this movie. I don't think I've been able to find it. Oh, I think it's streaming on Netflix though. So he's great here. Warren Ellis is great, and they work with Atticus Ross, who a lot of times works with one of my favorite boys. I don't know what that means. Trent Reznor, who I love. Atticus Ross, Nick Cave, Warren Ellis. Gotta get it. So we're still in 2000 now. Now we're in 12 with those two, and then he releases. Oh right, it's right here. He releases this one song. I think this was a Record Store Day thing. I don't actually remember, but at Animal X was just this one track. It's a good song. It's really good, and I think you can find this pretty cheap now. So if you're a completist or you just want to hear this, I'm positive you can hear this on YouTube. But if you want to hear the good old 7-inch, you can get it. Fun little packaging. He also does the second collaboration with a bunch of people for the Jeffrey Lee Pierce sessions. This song, City in Pain, that he does on this one is really good. It's bringing back a lot of the same people from the first one. Oh, and he works with Debbie Harry again with the Breaking Hands, which is also really good. In 2012, so then we get into, what, 2013? Yeah, we're on to 2013. What do I got? And they brought Barry Adamson back at this point, I think, for this album and this tour, and they released Push the Sky Away. This is the deluxe book edition. This album is really great, and this is sort of, it comes with a DVD as well as a bunch of information, lyrics, and things like that. But this album has a great cover. That's him and his wife on the front there. He's opening the light on her. This one is the one that I think is known to sort of make him popular now, I guess. It kind of ushered in a whole new era of fans and, I don't know, just eyes on him, I suppose, which is interesting because it's way less popular sounding than the stuff he was doing in the mid-2000s. You know, it's slow. There's not really choruses, you know, it's just kind of like the songs are going and going and going, and there's a lot of music, and it's very Warren Ellis sounding, but it's really good stuff. I like this album a lot. This book is worth checking out because there's a good DVD and great pictures. So 2013 he does that, as well as the second of this Rogues Gallery thing. Here, around this time, I think on the Push the Skyway tour, the tour before that, he toured with somebody who I love, Shilpa Ray. She's this great musical artist out of New York City. I love her. Check her out. If you're a Nick Cave fan, you'll definitely like her. They worked, him, Warren, and Shilpa worked on Pirate Jenny on the second of those songs, which is really great. Am I still in this year? Yeah. Same year, 2013, he did a whole live at KCRW show, which was really great. I tried my best to get into the show. I could not get into the show. It was very sad, but it's a great little compilation. The last song, before he plays it, he's asking them what they want to hear. Somebody shouts out Nick the Stripper, which is a great birthday party song that gets him to laugh. I always like a good laugh on a track. So he laughs, and then they end up playing Jack the Ripper. It's a really good rendition of Jack the Ripper. This is a good live record if you can check it out, because it's like an intimate live stripped down session. It's worth checking out. 2013. Into 2014. No, I lied. I'm sorry. Hold. Don't forget about this. And don't forget about my records falling over. They're not going to fall over. This is, you guessed it, Newberry Comics. That's right. It's a nice colored edition. It's beautiful. I'd check them all. Check them all out. Buy them all. Be like me. 2014 does another soundtrack. This is Viggo Mortensen is in this as well. This is a great film. I actually love this. But it was probably my favorite movie of that year. And the score is really, really great, based on a short story by Albert Camus. Is that how you say his name? It's French. Camus, Camus. I think that's right. The movie is called Far From Men, the English title. The French title is Loin dehors. Nailed it. This is a really good soundtrack. Check it out if you're into his soundtracks. We're still in 2014, and we're going to move on to, he released this, Give Us a Kiss, which was kind of a B-side that was not released on Push the Sky Away, his last record. The B-side is a live version of Jubilee Street, which is one of his classic live songs now. It's a great song. Give Us a Kiss is a really good song, and it fits very much in the mold of the stuff he's doing now. Push the Sky Away and the next couple albums all have this similar sort of, I don't know, like ethereal, no choruses, and they're more just like him telling stories or talking, or he says asking questions in lyric form, which I really like. Same year, we're still in 2014, he released another soundtrack to this movie, West of Memphis, about the Memphis 3, right? West Memphis 3. It's good. It's very good. It's a good score. It's a good movie. Check it out. And what's next? I don't even know. Where am I at? I'm losing track here. We're still in that same year there, 2014. This is the third and final of the Jeffrey Lee Pierce sessions. This was, I remember these reading in the booklet that they were very excited to get Iggy Pop to be a part of this. So Iggy Pop does a song with Nick Cave and Thurston Moore called Nobody's City. That's really great. Check that out. And he does one song again with Debbie Harry, Into the Fire, which is also really good. These are really good, these Jeffrey Lee Pierce session CDs. I like them a lot. He's on another soundtrack. He's actually on both seasons, the first two seasons of True Detective. So on this compilation, I think there's a vinyl of it as well. They only released All the Gold in California by Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, which is a really good song. The soundtrack is really good as well. But I believe in the first season, there's a song called Honeybee, which is not, or something about honey or bee, I can't remember. It's not the same Grinder Man song, but I wish that was available on this CD because I like that song a lot. This All the Gold in California song, though, is really good. You could definitely download that on its own. This soundtrack is good. It's got Leonard Cohen and some others, but, you know, that song is good. Same year he released this. It's worth noting, I guess, because it's fun. It's a really fun little movie. It's about his 20,000th day on Earth, and it brings in fun interviews with Kylie Minogue while Nick Cave's like driving around where he lives outside of London, and he's driving Kylie around. He drives Blixa around, who's left the band at this point. It's a really fun little movie. It's worth checking out. There's no soundtrack available that I know of. So now we're into 2015, sorry. And he released a couple live records. He did these sort of like stripped down versions that aren't with all of the Bad Seeds or with the Bad Seeds. It's just like him and Warren, I think, and one other guy. And they did a couple nights. They did this in Australia as well, but they did a couple nights at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And these are really great. They're different. There's a couple different songs on each one of these. But they're cool because he plays songs like Up Jump the Devil, a song that I love from Tender Prey. A lot of stuff that he kind of dived deep into the discography to pull out for these records. These are really good. They're worth checking out if you like his live stuff especially. So same year, 2015, he puts out his next book. Again, you're like, why are you talking about this? But this is really fun for a couple different reasons. So Sick Bag Song is a great little book that he wrote on sick bags while traveling around touring. So this book was not initially going to be, it said it wasn't going to be released in the States. Of course it was going to be released in the States, right? But at the time, my sister was living in London, and I was like, hey, this is going to be released. Nick Cave's going to be at this place. Is this far from where you're living right now? No. So she went down and actually got this book for me, which is really wonderful. So she took a picture with him at that. That's him. That's me. But this is what she sent me with the book. She went ahead and taped my face over her face and put it on this little picture here, which is great. I love that. So this is great. Comes with its own little sick bag, right? Doesn't actually come with a sick bag. If you can read that, it's from another friend of mine who gave me this, who enjoyed reading this book on a vacation So that was really good. I put that sick bag in here now, but the book is really good. It's a really good read. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's pretty short too. I guess the reason I thought it was all right to bring that, other than some of those fun little tidbits, is that they did release like a really special edition of it that came with. This is just the audiobook version of it, but it does have a little bit of singing. There's one track. I feel like I wrote down what that was. Butcher Boy, yeah, which I feel like this Butcher Boy's song is something he talks about a lot. He talks about a lot, particularly in this book. You know, he's talking about different things he's thinking. You know, while he's on tour, while he's on planes, whatever, Butcher Boy keeps coming up, and he sings it at some point on this audiobook vinyl version, which is great. This is a great way to listen to it, honestly. It's very short, and I could listen to his voice all day long. It's great. What do we got next? We're almost done, don't worry. Oh, right, great news. We got another giveaway coming up in just a couple seconds. So his next album, we're into 2016. He releases a record that comes, so they had started working on the new Bad Seeds album, and then his son died. And obviously, unbelievably traumatizing, and so it sort of seeped its way into some of the recordings for the songs. I think they had recorded part of it, but they went back and kind of started over, and I feel like you can really hear a lot of that on this album, Skeleton Tree. They stripped down, you know, they went away from all of this past sort of elaborate packaging and art and all that. It's very simple, you know, very, very simple. This is a really great record. I like Push the Sky Away a lot. I like Skeleton Tree a lot. I like this sort of new era he's ushered in. Again, it's like there's not a lot of choruses. It's somber. It's very sad, but it's really good. It's definitely something that I feel like sounds great and benefits from like just sitting down and listening to it on vinyl. But if you want to get depressed with me, I've got a digital code for Skeleton Tree to give you, the third commenter on the video, who gives me, what do I want you to give me? What I got, 5 songs, 10 songs. Why don't you tell me your favorite Nick Cave story? The third person to comment with their favorite Nick Cave story, whether it's a personal story, a story you've heard, doesn't really matter. You tell me your Nick Cave story, you're the third commenter, you're going to get a download code for Skeleton Tree, which is a great record. I'll put that over there so you can't see the code. I want you to get it without having to work a little. All right, so now we're still into 2016, same year. Put out a couple soundtracks. Hell or High Water, which is a pretty good little movie. He does quite a few songs on this soundtrack with Warren Ellis. That's pretty good. He also did this TV show called Mars, which is just a score. And the Mars theme, I believe, they sing on. It's either that or Mars. They sing on one of the tracks, or he sings on one of the songs. I think it's Mars theme. These are both really good. And if you're getting real excited about vinyl, it's also available on vinyl. And it's very good. I like the Mars soundtrack a lot. I never watched that TV show, but I liked the score a lot. We're going to move on into 2017 now. So he did this opera. Well, he wrote the lyrics to this opera. It's in another language, so I don't understand it. I think it's based on some of his songs. Like, this is another thing, kind of like that Polish project he worked on earlier that I've only listened to once, because I'm not really a big opera fan. I should give it another listen. It's cool packaging. Terrifies me a little bit. We are in October, so probably a good time to re-listen to that. Shell Shock. He also released a couple soundtracks this year. Kings, a movie I have yet to finish. I've started it like 3 times. I can't get through it. But the score is pretty good. It takes place in South Central Los Angeles. Takes place during the riots, I think. Oh man, I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's when it takes place. Kings, him and Warren Ellis, back at it. It's a good soundtrack. It's got Halle Berry and James Bond in it. Same year, War Machine, a movie I have not watched. I love Brad Pitt. Who else is in this? I don't know. This movie just didn't look very good. Sorry, people who might be watching this. But the score is great. I do like the score, so I should give the movie a chance. And then moving on later into that year, Wind River, which is a movie I do love. I have seen multiple times. This is a great score. There's a lot of really wonderful stuff on this, but there's a couple tracks where he's sort of singing on. Feels very similar to The Proposition in certain ways, in a good way. Wind River. I think at this time he was about to re-release the vinyls and all that, or maybe they had already started, so there's just like this little thing that was in a magazine I got. Great. There's also one of these that talks about roots and collaborations over the years that he had done, like stuff that he had worked on or people he had worked with, and Murdered Ballads, songs that inspired the tracks that Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds did over the years, but specifically on Murdered Ballads. That all kind of came out around this same time. They were like magazine giveaways and stuff, and they were very fun. This same year, yeah, 2017. This was the documentary that kind of came out around the same time as Skeleton Tree. It was really good. Love this. I've watched it many times, which just seems surprising, but there's a lot of great performances on here. It's a documentary about the making of this album as much as it is about him, the passing of their son. His wife's interviewed a couple times. It's really good. I saw it with my wife and a good friend, and Keanu Reeves as well. Yes, he was at the screening. He seemed really cool, by the way, Keanu Reeves. 2017, we're still there, and he releases this great book for the best of the Bad Seeds, right? Lovely Creatures. Got all this really great little art. It's got a great booklet in here. Lots and lots and lots of information in here. A lot of great songs that they handpicked. It's like a best of, but then also songs that they really like. There's a live recording and a DVD as well. It's really, really good. This is a great starting point, honestly, if you're looking into getting into them. There's a lot of really good stuff on here, so I recommend it. It's a great, I think this might be out of print now, but I'm sure you can still get it for like $50. This is worth it. If you're looking just to start somewhere and you want a best of, that's great. There's also just a CD version of it that's not as intense, but I mean, why spend $20 when you can spend $30 more to get pictures and all this wonderful stuff? I think it's worth it. So then that's 2017. 2018, he worked on another album with Marianne Faithfull. He also produced this one actually with Warren Ellis. This is my favorite of the records of hers that I've listened to. It's really good. Just came out last year. There's a lot of great songs on here. The Gypsy Fairy Queen, he specifically sings on with her, as well as a couple others. It feels very much like these last couple Bad Seeds records. It sounds like and feels like Skeleton Tree and Push the Sky Away. I don't know what it is with old people like voices. She's like been around for a long time. She feels weathered, her voice, but it sounds really good to me. I like it. This is a really good record. Oh, it's called Negative Capability. I didn't say that. In case you're looking for it, it's very good. And that's it. One more thing, two more things. He also released that last year. This just like a live EP, Jubilee Street, Distant Sky, From Her to Eternity, and the Mercy Seat, live in Copenhagen. It's very good. I love Distant Sky, which is a song on Skeleton Tree. Great song. It's nice to hear it live. And then, this was not planned. I've been planning to do this on this day for a while, and then we heard about a new Nick Cave album dropping out of nowhere. So the physical release of it hasn't come out yet, but yesterday, that's right, one day ago, they released the digital version of his new album, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Ghosteen. It very much follows up with the same kind of musicality that Skeleton Tree and Push the Sky Away have. I listened to it 3 times yesterday. I really like it. I like this new stuff. I think it's really good. Warren Ellis was in one of these documentaries, I feel like, telling Nick Cave or telling the audience that he had been telling Nick Cave, like, we got to stick with this. I like this trilogy that we're doing where this music feels like we need to do one more album in this same kind of style of Skeleton Tree, Push the Sky Away, and Ghosteen. So I'll be very curious to see if this, in fact, does kind of wrap up this type of music they've been working on. Nick Cave for years has been talking about wanting to do a country record, so it's possible that they'll do that, or he'll do that on his own, or maybe him and Warren will do that next. But for the meantime, we've got this. I think the album's coming out beginning in November of this year, but it's really good. I liked it a lot. The tracks that stood out to me were the first song, Spinning Song, is really good. I like the song Leviathan, and Bright Horses were all really good. There's 2 songs. I put it all on one disc, but it's going to be released as 2 discs. The second part of it is 3 songs, 2 of which are like 10-plus minute long songs. It's very good. Be on the lookout for it. I think that's it. I think I got through everything. Wasn't very in-depth detail, but I feel good about it. I hope you do too. Don't forget about the comments. First commenter, 5 favorite songs, gets a download. Second commenter, 10 favorite songs, gets a download. third commenter who puts their favorite Nick Cave story, boom, you get a download as well. Hope you've had fun. Check out Starward Whiskey and the other videos that are on this YouTube channel because he's the best. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.